Going on, everybody? Funky boxing. Yes, we're gonna talk a little NBA tonight. Bust up the monotony just a little bit. Um, Boxing's a little bit slow right now. I'm not trying to report on all the rumors and whatnot that's going on. Figured I'd do something fun, so we're gonna talk about this Michael Jordan versus LeBron James comparisons that we've been dealing with for quite a few years now. I want to welcome my co-host here tonight, fellow YouTuber for 10 plus years, the boxing historian, also known as Big Brian. What's going on, man?
What's happening, G Funky? What's happening, chat?
Yeah, man. Hopefully we could get some good feedback from the chat out there. I just want to start the conversation. I did send a link out to a few people. We'll see if they show up. If not, it's all good. We'll go ahead and give our piece on it, man. But I'll just ask you a quick question, man. Where are you on this argument? Who do you think is better, Michael Jordan or LeBron James? Just real quickly.
Well, when it matters the most, and if you're talking about player and accomplishments, right, and level of opposition that one guy faced compared to the other guy, and with the less amount of, let me just say that with the less amount of help, if you will, to him, and he accomplished way more in his time playing in the NBA for like 14 something seasons, 14, 15 seasons compared to somebody who's approaching 20 seasons almost. It's not even close, man. Not even close.
I'm right there with you, man. I don't think it's a. I don't think it's a comparison, or people saying that LeBron is the GOAT, the greatest of all time. I'm not seeing that, man. And look, I think LeBron is a top 10 player. There's some people that argue that. I think that's going a little too far, but I definitely think he's a top 10 player of all time. Do I think he's the greatest of all time? Absolutely not. I believe that title belongs to Michael Jordan. And we're gonna talk about a few things here, man. And like I said, I want to start the conversation because there is a lot of people out there that believe that LeBron is better. But what I want to do is attack some of these narratives, man, that the media has put out there over the past 6-7 years now since LeBron started to win championships and started to accumulate stats. So we're gonna go ahead and debunk some of these narratives, man. And if you guys are watching live, there's a poll out there that I have going on in the chat. Make sure you vote on that poll. I have it out there. Who is better, Jordan or LeBron? Go ahead and give us your vote. And we already have a comment here. Jordan over LeBron. Look at the opposition. Let's see. Scottie Pippens was better than Jordan. No, I disagree with that.
Hell
But
no.
I know that Pippen said that recently, man. He said a lot of crazy things recently, man. I'm not quite sure what that was all about, but maybe that can be another video down the road. We'll see. But right now, I want to talk about something, man. One of my favorite narratives that I hear that makes me just chuckle when it comes to this argument is Jordan was 1-9 in the playoffs before Pippen. Now, that's a crazy narrative. All right. Now, was his record 1-9 in his first 3 playoffs? Yes, of course. They never put into context who he played. They never put into context who he had on his team, right? So we're gonna go ahead. And again, here's another thing. They act like Pippen arrived and it was just straight to the championship, and that's definitely not what happened. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and get into this right now. 1-9. Okay, so his first year as a Chicago Bull, he comes in and the Bulls play. Let me share my screen actually because I have all this stuff pulled up already, man. I like to be prepared when I come in here and talk about these things, bro. So let me go ahead and grab this real quick. Hold on. Let me cancel this real quickly. Thought I had it up, but I didn't. Here we go. All right. Now we can share the screen. Let's pull this up right here. All right. Hopefully you guys can see that. Let me go ahead and just put it full screen like this. So you guys can hopefully you guys can see that. So what I have here is a 1984-85 Milwaukee Bucks roster and stats. Now let's look at some of these numbers here, Brian. Look at that record. 59-23 was their record that year. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's a hell of a record. 59 wins, 23 losses. Have a really good coach, Don Nelson. They ranked 11th. No, wait a minute. They ranked offensive rating 6th in the league. Defensive rating number 2. This was a hell of a team, man. This was no punk team, all right? This was not some...
I think they had Buck Williams on that team, man, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're going to look at their roster right now. Their leading scorer for that series was Terry Cummings. Put up 29.5, 9 rebounds. Sidney Moncrief, who was an underrated player of all time, may I add that. 26-5. I mean, they had a good team here, man. High scoring offense. Let's go ahead and look. Jordan, as a rookie, comes in, puts up 29 points, 5.8 rebounds, 8.5 assists, 2.8 steals, and 1.0 blocks. So he did his thing, man. He had some help here. Orlando Woolridge, 20.5, and God, Woolridge, look at this guy. He's putting up points, but no rebounds. 3.3 rebounds in the series. Like, the hell you doing out there, Woolridge? But anyway, if you compare just this team, just the Bucks, to what some of the teams that LeBron played, right? Like, some of these teams LeBron played, they weren't even 500, some of these teams, I think. Or maybe 500. I know for a fact, and we're going to get into this in a little bit, 2 teams that he played in the first and second round of the 2007 run that he had with the Cavs.
Yeah.
Both of those teams were 41-41. Mm-hmm. And this is all stuff they leave out, Brian. What do you think of this, man?
Well, see, but when you deal with a lot of people that, started watching basketball since 2005 and 4 and whatnot, they're going to say stuff like that. They're going to be like, oh, well, who did Jordan play against? Well, who did LeBron play in those first couple of series? And as his career went on, we saw what kind of player he became when he was faced with great opposition. Sometimes he wouldn't show up. Sometimes he would throw his whole team under the bus. When you bring up super teams, I just want to say this: LeBron faced maybe one super team in his whole career. One super team. Guys that were all in their primes, not some over the hill guys that all came together like Boston. He faced one super team. Jordan faced at least 4 or 5 super teams in his career, especially in the back end, especially in the beginning stages of his career in 1984. 1984 going into 1990.
Oh yeah, no, I agree, man. And speaking of the super teams, all right, let me stop sharing this right now. We're going to go ahead and get into one of those teams that you're talking about here, man, because again, 1-9 is what we're talking about, guys, in the first 3 seasons that Jordan played. So the next year, he played the 1985, 86 Celtics, right? Let's look at this roster, man. Let's just take a look at this roster. Now, I know you know who was on the team, man, because, you studied the history of the game as well as myself. But let's go ahead and look at this, man, for the people out there that they might not know, okay? So we'll help you out. This 1985-86 Boston Celtics team Larry Bird himself said this was the best Boston Celtics team he's ever been on in his 13 seasons that he played. This is one of the greatest, and I'm going to repeat it again. This is one of the greatest basketball teams of all time, in my opinion. And I think a lot of people who study the game and know basketball could agree with that. Look at this record, bro. 67-15 was their record. All right. Their offensive rating that year was third in the league. They were the best defensive team. Let me repeat that again. The best defensive team in the league that year, man. That's one of the super teams you're talking about, right? Right, bro?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, that murderous role of a stacked team that they had. Like, look at that. Oh, I forgot about Bill Walton coming off the bench, man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, man. Oh man.
Box of dialogue here says you could argue the Spurs were a super team. I mean, maybe. I mean, I get what you're saying, but let me go ahead and let me just pull these. I mean, look at this is just regular season stats, I believe, or did I pull the playoff stats here? Let me see. Yeah, these are the playoff stats. So let's look at Larry Bird. All right, and I want to bring up Larry Bird for a reason because these LeBron guys will just brush off Larry Bird as if he's nothing when it comes to the greatest players of all time. But look at the numbers that this guy is putting up, man. 28, 8-8 on 52% from the field. I mean, that is ridiculous, man. That's absolutely ridiculous. Now, ridiculous. Speaking of ridiculous, okay, again, this is Jordan coming off of an injury, right? Remember,
Yeah.
he missed like 60 games or something this year. He had a foot injury early on. They didn't even want him to come back at all this year. But he comes back, right? And look what he does to the number one rated team on defense that year. He puts up 43.7 points per game in the series, including a 63-point record game in the NBA playoffs in game number 2. 43.7 points per game, 6.3 rebounds, 5.7 assists, 2.3 steals, 1.3 blocks on 50% shooting, bro. Unbelievable.
Yeah. And you know, and the thing is, man, like they could, like the Boston Celtics were scrambling on who to put on him. They didn't know how to guard Jordan. It was times Larry Bird was a good defender. He was all team defensive player. The second team at least a couple times. He kept Jordan in front of him, and he made Jordan. You know, Jordan was putting the moves on him, but he kept Jordan in front of him. That's if you're a defender and somebody's trying to do dribble penetration. He kept him in front of him, but Jordan was able to hit them jump shots, man, and sometimes get to the rack at times. And he was able to put up numbers on, at that time, the best defensive team in the league at that year. And that team was stacked, man. You see Dennis Johnson, who was a former see, you got to think. You have three finals MVPs on that team. And Dennis Johnson, who did that with my Sonics back in the 1979. Bill Walton coming off the bench to spill Robert Parrish and Kevin McHale, mind you. All right. He's coming off the bench, giving you like 9-10 points, a couple rebounds and whatnot. He's finals MVP over Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who was Lou Alcindor at the time in the 70s. You have Larry Bird, I think is the greatest small forward of all time. All right. Danny Ainge, a sharpshooter, you know, a great dribble pass, dribble pass shoot combination guard.
Oh yeah.
In the league back then. And then you have Dennis Johnson, who could do the same thing, dribble pass shoot, and was a clutch player. All right. And then you have the Twin Towers and Kevin McHale, some of the best post moves of all time. And Robert Parrish, who had a very good post moves, and a guy that can give you 10 rebounds a game, man. I mean, that team, how do you stop that team?
Let me you can't. You just can't. And again, a second year Michael Jordan puts up 43 a night on them. 43 a night, okay, on these guys. We got my boy Mario P here, who's a big LeBron James fan. So LeBron beat the greatest team of all time in 2016 in a 7-game series. Well, you know what? Here's the thing. Michael Jordan never had to do that, Brian. You know why? Because his team was the greatest of all time. He was on that team. That's why he was on that juggernaut. Okay, that's another argument that the LeBron guys like to use. Oh, he beat a juggernaut, in 2016. Well, Jordan was the juggernaut. He was the juggernaut. So I mean, would you rather play the juggernaut or be the juggernaut? Which one would you rather be?
You know what? It kind of, I get a little bit of that hits me personal. You know why? Because that 72 team beat my Seattle Sonics, right?
Yeah, and that was a what? 60? How many games you guys win?
I think we was like a 62, 63 win team.
Right. Yeah, that was no weak ass team.
That team, all time. If you go look at the rating, defensive efficiency or rating, whichever one you want to call it, that was one of the greatest defensive teams of all time. They set the record for steals in the league at I think in one season and in one game. That's how lethal that defense was. And they held Jordan to 42% shooting.
Yes.
And I don't know why they were scared, because I know they had the two guys that was supposed to guard Jordan was Nate McMillan, who could come off the bench, shoot threes, but he very good shooter. I mean, very good defensive player. Gary Payton, the greatest defensive point guard of all time. But they both came in injured, and they were scared to put Payton on Jordan because they wanted Payton for offense. But look, I mean, they should have kept it the way it was, because Jordan shot 42% in that series. All right, that team. I mean, that team. We're talking about a super team. You have Sean Kemp, hell of a power forward back in the day. Gary Payton was playing the best ball. What's up, Puros Central? Playing the best ball of any point guard at that time. You had
great shooters surrounding those guys too. Detlef Schrempf, Hershey Hawkins. Oh my God.
Hershey Hawkins. What's my guy's name? Sam Perkins, man.
At
center, man. Shooting threes. I think the Sonics set the record at that time for the most 3-point shots made in the game. All right. I mean, and we had guys that can clear the boards and whatnot. We had like 2 or 3 guys that were legitimately that were all-stars, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Detlef Schrempf was a guy, not only could shoot, he could post up, he can pass. He was one of the point forwards at that time. And he's one of the only players in NBA history to record 10 plus points, 10 plus rebounds, and 10 plus assists for a season. He's one of the few players to do that. You know what I'm saying? And
he was nice.
He could do it all. He could do it all. And you had Hershey Hawkins, who could give you points, and you had Nate McMillan coming out the bench who could shoot threes and play great defense, man. Like, come on, man. You're selling this team short. Like, I would dread what that team would do today with no damn offense.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Tom Chambers played for them, I think, in the 80s. He ended up playing against Jordan in the 93 finals with the Suns.
But
I want to get back to
oh my God, that team.
That team too. Yeah, that team too. But I want to get into, again, we're on the 1-9 record before Pippen. So now here's the third team that he lost to, the 1986-87 Boston Celtics, right? He played the Celtics twice in his first 3 seasons. I mean, Jesus Christ, like this is the team that this guy is supposed to beat, by himself pretty much. But okay, now I got my here. So let's take a look at this. All right, the 86-87 Celtics were 59-23. They were first in the Atlantic Division. They were offensive rating. They were 3rd in the league and 9th in defense. So again, another top 10 defensive teams, 3 in a row. One of them was number 1 at the time, and arguably one of the greatest teams ever. Okay, now again, I want to look at Larry Bird again, because again, these LeBron guys want to just brush him off. Brian, look at these unbelievable stats here by Larry Bird. Okay, 26 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists, 1.3 steals, 0.3 blocks. The man shot 90% from the free throw line, 63% from 3, and 53% overall from the field. I mean, if a guy did something like that today, the media would lose their fucking mind, bro. That is insane. That is insane.
They'd be like, "Oh man, he's the greatest. Hey man, he's better than Jordan." That's what they would say. They would say some shit like that, man.
Exactly, they would, man. They would. Now let's go down and look at Jordan. Let's look at what he put up here against this team. All right, and again, look, the second guy on the list here was Charles Oakley, who's really not known for his scoring, but look, he did a hell of a job in the series, put up 20 and 15. Did his thing, man. But look, Jordan against, again, another top 10 team, 35.7 points, 7 assists, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 2.0 steals, 2.3 blocks. Man is out there D'ing up, all right? Little bit of a volume shooter here, at 41%. But look, man, he still put up great numbers here against this team. So, I mean,
Charles
narrative,
Oakley had a nice series, obviously. But see, that was his only other teammate at the time that could play.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, man. My boy Loyal Roots, the sponsor of HCP, is in here. Says, what about Clyde? Hey, we love Clyde, man. He's a top 5 shooting guard, in my opinion. Let's see here. Puro Sul Central says Jordan versus Kobe is closer to debate, in my opinion. Okay, the GOAT here says LeBron already surpassed MJ all-time scoring. So what's the point of praising MJ for scoring but not LeBron? Be consistent. All right, well, let's do this then. Since you want to go off accumulative stats, all right, LeBron I'll give him the longevity argument. I'll give you that. Played more games, more seasons. I'll give you that. Okay? But let's do this, Mario P. When these guys played the same amount of games, LeBron was still close to 3,000 points behind Jordan. By the time they both played 1,072 games, LeBron had 29,105 points total on his career. Jordan had 32,292. So, yes, he is a better scorer by far. And we don't even want to go points per game, scoring titles. I don't think you want me to go there, but we can. All right, but I'm holding that one in the chamber. All right, I'm holding that one in the chamber. But anyways, the point of this was this. We wanted to debunk that narrative that was out there that Jordan couldn't do it without Scottie Pippen. Okay, Pippen came into the league. Number one, he was drafted in 88. The guy was averaging like 7.9, 8 points a game his first season. He played 79 games that year and started 0. Okay, so he wasn't even a starter. Okay, and I don't even think he started a game until game 5 of the first round against Cleveland. So this whole narrative that Pippen scored up, Pippen showed up and everything just changed at the snap of a finger, that's not true. So these guys like Nick Wright and Shannon Sharp and all these weird dudes, like, come on, man, like you're not telling the whole story here, man. How is he a better scorer? How is he a better scorer? He surpassed him in points. I just told you how. And not only that, let me ask you this, Mario P. Answer this question for me. How many times has LeBron led the league in scoring? And what does his points per game rank all time? And while you're getting that answer, I'll tell you this. Michael Jordan led the league in scoring 10 times in his career, 7 times in a row. He has the highest points per game in NBA history, regular season, and in the playoffs, and still has the highest points per game series average in the finals when they played the 93 Suns. The man averaged 41 points a game that series. So he's definitely a better scorer.
No doubt about it. I'm looking at the usage rating of all time, right? So Jordan he's number 1 in the usage rating, right? Number 2 is Russell Westbrook. Kobe is number 3. Allen Iverson is number 4. LeBron James is at number 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's deal with some facts, right? With that being said, LeBron James, he's in the top 5 in usage rating, but is he as efficient as Jordan? And we're not even going to bring in the fact that, you're playing the difference between eras where there's 3 seconds in the key in Jordan's time, right? There's no 3 seconds in the key in Jordan's time, which is the reason why in the 80s you saw a lot of fat teams that were doing the fast break thing, right?
Oh yeah.
Because if you got stuck in the half court, you were pretty much fucked. You're pretty much done. You had to really had to run a real clean offense and play physical too to break through that defense, right? LeBron didn't face that.
No.
All right. LeBron didn't face that. and he has almost as just it's so Jordan has a 33.26 usage rating. LeBron has a 31.54, so it's not off, right? Only by 2%. All right. Now, with that being said, LeBron has still has the ball in his hands, and he still is not able to accumulate as much in that time and have the opportunity to lead the league in scoring. So if you have the ball in your hand that much, and mind you, Jordan, Westbrook, Kobe, Allen Iverson have all led the league in scoring at one point. LeBron, close to it, but never has had as many scoring titles. Not even one like Jordan.
He doesn't have as many scoring titles as Allen Iverson. Iverson, I believe, has 3 or 4. Durant has 3 or 4.
Exactly.
And it does matter. It does matter, brother. Like, he led the league in scoring. I mean, let me say it again. 10 times. 10 times, bro. What has LeBron led the league in 10 times in anything? Nothing. Nothing, man. 7 in a row. 7 scoring titles in a row. I mean, that's insane. All right, but let's go ahead and you brought up assist. Okay, so let's talk about some of these things. Right, another narrative that Jordan can't carry a team like LeBron. Okay, all right, let's do this, man. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen one more time so we can talk about that. I'm gonna show you some examples of a guy carrying a team on his back. Okay, so let's go ahead and check this out. Right here, what you're looking at is Michael Jordan's 1987-88 stats and the rest of the team. All right. Let's just talk about this real quickly. All right. He won the scoring title this year. He won the MVP this year. He won Defensive Player of the Year this year. He was the leader in 5 categories. 5 categories. Okay. And look at this. He didn't have a teammate average over 13 points a game. Right? Well, he's putting up 35, 5 and 6 on 53% shooting. Okay. Not only that, again, with that weak roster, look at the record they finished with, bro. 50 and 32. 50 and 32. But he can't carry a team. What does that tell you there, man? The man can carry a team. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Carry a team. And again, look, we've already talked about this, bro. He's played more games. He's played a ton of more games. When they had the same amount of games, he was still behind nearly 3,000 points, man. My boy El Cheeto Boxing says MJ was more worried about making his teammates championship team. He made more championships. That's true, but that's a narrative that a lot of people don't like to push. You know, they wanted to call him selfish, and a lot of it is because they want to push LeBron. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, and you know what kind of what's funny about that is that in like 10 or something games when Michael Jordan had to play point, right? He averaged a triple-double as a point guard.
Yes.
He averaged it. See, if he had the ball, listen, he had the ball more than LeBron, of course, but if he had the free reign like LeBron and not having create his own offense, pretty much create his own freaking system like LeBron just did, right? Well, guess what? Jordan would have a whole lot more assists than what he had, but at the same time, if we were to compare passing ability, if we're talking about pure passing ability, because someone like John Stockton, right? He's in this how we know that argument is really simple. And I hate to say it like that, but it is. Mm-hmm. John Stockton is the all-time assist leader in the history of the NBA. Great passer, right? Top 5. Is he better passer than Magic?
Right. That's a great question. Yeah.
Magic can make any pass on the court from half court, whether it be alley-oop lobs, whether it be mid-court,
backdoor cuts. Yeah.
You know, behind the back pass, bro, he can make any pass. John Stockton is like a step or two lower than Magic. That's how great that's how great he was as a passer.
Yep.
So if we're trying to compare, the scoring titles actually mean more than the actual points per game average, points average, because with that being said, if you play more games, you have more opportunity, which creates what? A higher volume of more opportunities, and you're still behind. People try to argue this thing way back 10 years ago with Kobe. Oh, well, Kobe's outpacing Jordan. Yeah, he's outpacing Jordan because he's bricking more than Jordan is.
Yes.
Come
Shot a
on,
worse
man.
percentage from the field too. And look, here's the thing, brother. You said you give LeBron his just due when it comes to longevity, but yet when LeBron's longevity makes him pass MJ in points, it's he played longer. That's what longevity is, brother. Like accumulative stats are in the same category as longevity. That's what I'm giving you. I'm giving you that. What I'm saying is who was a better scorer per game in game? It's Michael Jordan, and it's not even close. And we're not even getting into the X's and O's. We're not even talking about the post moves, and I'm not even getting into that. All right, but I see right here you say he didn't carry that team to the finals. I'm glad you brought that up, brother. You're reading my mind. That's why I love the GOAT. I love the GOAT, man. He's one of my favorite subscribers. I'm gonna share with you another season here, another example of Jordan carrying a team on his back that they say that he can't do. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what we got here. First of all, let's roll up. This is the Eastern Conference Finals, 1989 against the Pistons, right? So this year, he was the leader in 3 categories in the team. No teammate averaged over 14 points. In the playoffs, he put up 7 games over 40, hit 2 game-winning shots, one against Cleveland, the famous one he hit over Craig Elo, and then he hit another one against Detroit in the Eastern Conference Finals, right? So let's roll down here. Let's take a look and let's see, right? Here is the Bulls stats for that series, right? Jordan puts up 29.7, 5.5 rebounds, 6.5 assists, 2.0 steals, 0.5 blocks, 46% from the field, right? They lose in 6 games. Now, again, look, the next guy closest to him in scoring is Craig Hodges, a shooter, a spot-up shooter. Yep. Craig Hodges puts up 12 points a game. Bill Cartwright's number 3. And I love Bill Cartwright. He's from where I'm from, right? His grandfather, his father worked with my grandfather in construction here in the city. But look, he's the 3rd highest scorer on his team that series at 10.5. And then here comes the guy that saved everything, Scottie Pippen, at 9.7, Horace Grant 9.3.
Now, if I'm not mistaken,
that's trash. Go ahead.
That's Scottie Pippen's first year, right? That's his first year with the as a Chicago Bull, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The year before, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
The year before. Okay. And yeah, I mean, and then you have John Paxson and Horace Grant, who hadn't developed it up to that point, and Scottie Pippen himself, pretty much as a project team. All right. Mm-hmm. And if Bill Cartwright is your 3rd best scorer in the series, and you know that you have a problem because they traded Charles Oakley, who's a better player
for him,
much better player than Bill Cartwright, man, on both ends of the court. But I will say this: Bill was a better body in terms of guarding the bigger players. He can guard both the 4 and the 5. Charles Oakley was better at guarding the smaller big men like power forwards and whatnot. But that's a problem. Craig Hodges cannot. There's nobody on this roster up to this point that can create their own shot. There's nobody. There's literally no second options on this team.
Yep. And I want to do the GOAT a favor because I know what you're hitting at when you say you didn't take that team to the finals. You're pointing to the 2007 finals run that LeBron had with the Cavs. So I'm going to go ahead and read you off. Okay, I just read you off the stats for Bulls, right? And their top 5 scorers in that series. So let's do LeBron against the Spurs, right? The second, LeBron puts up 22 points, 7 rebounds, 6.8 assists on 35% shooting. That's horrible from the field in the playoffs. The next guy to him was Drew Gooden at 12.8, right? So he is a little bit better than Hodges at 12. Daniel Gibson, 10.8. Cartwright, 10.5. Pavlovich, 9.8. Pippen, 9.7. Varejao, 7.5. Horace Grant, 9.3. These rosters are pretty much the same here, man.
Yes.
And look, I know that this is not the finals, it's the Eastern Conference Finals, but the Pistons went on, and I believe they swept the Los Angeles Lakers in the finals this year. So, and not only that, the Eastern Conference, I mean, do we even have to get into how tough the Eastern Conference was at this time? I mean, my God, LeBron played that year in 2007. He played the Washington Wizards in round 1. They were 41-41. Round 2, he plays the Brooklyn Nets, or at the time they were the New Jersey Nets, 41-41. So right off the bat, he's playing two teams that are 400. Right
Oh,
off the
Agent
bat. I
Zero.
mean,
Remember?
500. My mistake. Yeah.
Yeah, Agent Zero. He's the great Agent Zero. Nah, listen, Gilbert Arenas was a one-time wonder, man. You know, and
Yeah.
he was in, like, people make a big deal about, oh, Antoine Jameson, Caron Butler, Gilbert Arenas. Listen, Tom Jameson, good player. Caron Butler was solid, but in Gilbert Arenas, he was solid, but they weren't superstars, bro. Stop it.
No.
No.
No. And look, I agree with you here, Mario P. All-time great night for LeBron in 2007 Eastern Conference Finals, Game 5, 48 points, 25 straight points. 29 of the Cavs' last 30 points, game winner in double overtime. And those Pistons were tough too. Chauncey and Hamilton and Prince. Yeah, but there was no Ben Wallace at the time. Ben Wallace was gone. They had Chris Webber, a guy who played for Mike Kings, who was, let me tell you, he was not the guy he used to be. The guy had no knees. He's out there playing on nubs. They had Antonio McDyess backing him up, another guy who was, injury prone, not the same. But
Yeah,
look,
done.
look, LeBron, that was one of the craziest things I've ever seen that night. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like, that was a crazy thing he did that night. No doubt about it, man. But
Yeah.
those Pistons weren't the same Pistons of before, man. They weren't, that Piston team was not even close to the 04 team. But still a good
No.
team. They were the number one in the conference that year, and the Bucks are right. I mean, the Cavs are right behind them that year. So
Now,
we got to keep
now,
things in perspective. Go ahead, brother.
my bad. I just wanted to say something about that. Right, they were number one. They were in the top 10 in offense and defense at the time. But they were not the Pistons of 2004. They were not the 2004 Pistons. They were not even the team after the 2004 Pistons. The team that went to the finals the year after. All right, they didn't have nowhere near the toughness in the defense when Ben Wallace left. Okay.
Right.
And all those players like Rip Hamilton, Chauncey Billups, those guys were on their way out at that point. So Chris Webber, of course, he did not have the same explosiveness as he did with Sacramento. All those guys were pretty much gone. You know what I'm saying? Pretty much done. And another thing too about that, there was a play in that 25-point scoring, that little rampage LeBron went on. In that fourth quarter, there was a key moment to tie the game before the 1 minute mark. This man took literally 3 steps and didn't call a travel, which would have been pivotal in that game. We're not talking about fouls. This man really took like 3 steps, and I was like, wait a second, why didn't they call a travel on that? You know,
Right.
not the nitpick, but one play in a game like that with the game on the line is pivotal. And had they would have called that, who knows? Maybe the Pistons run out the clock, get a good shot, put up to 4 points again.
Yeah. And look, man, he says, well, LeBron was a baby in the league, and he took that tough veteran team out by himself. Look, I give him that, bro. That was great. But again, you got to give Jordan his due too for shredding, and I mean absolutely shredding, an all-time great team in those 86 Celtics, putting up over 40, averaging over 40 on them, putting up 63, which is still an NBA record. And this is Michael Jordan in his second season, bro. Second season. Like, that's insane, man, to say, Absolutely insane.
Well, let's flip it over. Could LeBron do what he did to that Pistons team, right, in 2007, right? Or the season before that, when he first came to the playoffs, what he did against those teams, all right, against those Detroit Pistons teams, would he be able to do that against the Boston Celtics and against the Detroit Pistons of that time. If we were to if the roles were reversed, we flip Jordan with that team with the Cavaliers and LeBron with the Bulls, would he have done the same thing he did to those teams to that? No way.
I don't think so, man. I don't think so. I think Jordan torches those Pistons as well. I mean, LeBron would do his thing. Don't get me wrong, but it was just a different game back then, man. And that team was a juggernaut. That Boston Celtics team. Talking about a guy in Larry Bird who was coming off of an MVP season. He won 3 in a row, by the way, in the 80s. 3 MVPs in a row. The guy was an unbelievable player, man, and doesn't get enough respect. You know, he just doesn't get enough respect, in my opinion. And look, when it comes to LeBron again, I think he's an all-time great player. But people want to get hung up on his assists and stats stuff, assists and rebounds, because, you know, it looks good on paper, and it does, man. And look, Jordan in 89, 90, he put up 32, 8, and 8. 32, 8, and 8, bro. That's crazy. Like, he's able to do all these things. Hey, like you said, that year he ran point guard for 15 games. I think he had like 11 triple doubles or something like that. Like, fucking crazy, right? But here's the difference between what Jordan did in his career compared to LeBron. And I'm sure you could agree with me on this, Brian. He gave up all those stats, gave up dribbling the ball so much and doing whatever he wanted to do, like Doug Collins allowed him to do. When Phil Jackson came in, he took the ball out of his hands and they ran a system. And they started to win games. So he sacrificed the rebounding, the assists, and all that other stuff to become the finisher in that system, right? And if you don't believe me, I'm going to play you a recording here of Phil Jackson of what he had to say when he first became the coach. Check this out.
Doug Collins was replaced by assistant coach Phil Jackson, who had an idea how the Bulls might win.
I called Michael in and told him basically what I saw as a problem with the team is that everything's centered around him. I said, the team had to share the basketball. And he said to me, you're not going to run an equal opportunity offense, are you? And I said, yeah, I am. Phil Jackson.
Equal opportunity offense. He was not used to that, right? He was running like the LeBron James system right now. Just give the ball to LeBron, let him do whatever he wants, right? Now listen to what he said to Peter Vesey, who was a writer for the New York Post. This is what Michael Jordan had to say to him when Phil Jackson first took over the team. Listen to this.
Sorry, and I said, yeah, I am.
Phil Jackson's trying to convince Jordan that the triangle offense is going to work. During the game, Jordan comes over to me at press row, and he goes, can you believe this freaking offense? This is ridiculous.
He wasn't buying in right away, man. But he gave up those numbers, man, to run a system. And a lot of people don't understand that, man. They just don't. But it's important because they won 3 championships in a row. And then Jordan, he retires. He comes back and win another 3 in a row running the system. So that's a big part of the argument as well, man. Because, again, if you look at the numbers he was putting up the rebounds and the assists before they ran that triangle, man. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. See, and this is what they don't, and see, when we relay this as with LeBron James, people may not understand. Oh, well, look at all the assists he's making. Well, look at all, bro. When you're playing in a system where it's a basically a freestyle offense, right? Where you're playing what they call iso ball, clear outs, right? Clear outs and whatnot, and having one guy try to make things happen on his own all the time. There's no structure. This is a team game. If you need what a system does is it maximizes every player on the court to their full optimal ability on the court with your star player. Of course, you're going to give more free reign if your star player has the hot hand, just like how Chuck Daly said about Isaiah Thomas, man. When he turns on, the game is his, and it's hard to stop him. Well, Jordan was that guy, LeBron could be that guy, But the point being is that Jordan was going real hard on Scottie Pippen and on Horace Grant. And What's Collie had to pull him to the side. I remember watching this a long time ago. What's his name? Phil Jackson said, "Yeah, bro, you have to slow down on that." When you have a coach that gives you that structure and gives you that system that works, right? The triangle offense is 2 perimeter players. The other 2 guys are spread out. You have the guy in the post, whoever it is, the guy in the post, and you have guys that are spread out on the wing. All right. And the other guys are playing backdoor cutter. The other guys running to the perimeter. There's a certain structure to that offense. When you're playing the LeBron system, everybody spreads out. I go one-on-one with my man, and if I get triple team, I just kick it out to the guy. Another guy kicks it out to the open 3-point shooter. That works only if someone's hot. But if you keep shooting threes all the time, then guess what's going to happen? Eventually, someone's going to get cold. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And them 3-point shots, even if guys close out good enough, they're not going to fall in. Whereas a system, it's to work the ball around, whether it be stagger screens, whether it be flex plays, so on and so forth, and those to give the best shot to the open man. And see that system with Jordan bought into it. LeBron never bought into anything. Maybe for a second with Eric Spoelstra. But with Jordan, no. Jordan bought into it, and that's why. And here's another thing: why, if this is on record, right? Jordan has the most game-winning shots and game-winning plays of all time, whether it be most game-winning shots as well as game-winning assists as well.
Yeah, and look, I'll take any version against LeBron, any version of Michael, except for the Wizards years. Any version though, man, I would pick. And even that run was underrated, man. A lot of people look at that, but he got injured that year. He had fluid in his knee, had tendonitis. He just wasn't the athlete that he was in the 90s, but he was still very efficient from the field. If you look at his field goal percentage, mid-range jump shots, man, he was up there near 50% still at 38, 39, 40 years old. Man, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. Mario says he doesn't think MJ could beat LeBron one-on-one, too fast, too strong. I don't know, man. I mean, again, it would go into, what rules they play under, because you got to remember Jordan played in an era where you could hand check a guy. Like LeBron, he might have caught the tail end of that. I can't remember what year exactly they got rid of the hand checking.
See, they tried to put the hand check rule in the 90s, but they were not enforcing it. That's the reason why you saw guys like Derek Harper, guys like, because the hand check. See, some guys get it like misconstrued. Well, this is hand checking. No, this is basically riding the defender. This is pretty much like a regular thing that guys do. You can't even do that shit no more. Barely.
No.
You can barely do this, but hand checking is when you put both hands and you push the guy to the opposite side of the dribble. People were, if you play basketball on the court, they call that a foul. Back in the day, that was how you played basketball. Not everybody used the hand check technique, because that's a technique. It's not no fouling nobody. That's a real technique. They just took it out the game to open up the game, and like LeBron, like Brendan Hayward said in that his first playoff run, right, with LeBron, where they pretty much didn't let him get to the rim. And LeBron was talking about, oh, they're trying to hurt me. Well, he was like, he even referenced like, bro, people, and this back in 2006, people trying to compare you to Jordan. Well, Jordan was fouled way harder than this dude.
Oh yeah. It just listen to the way that guys like Lambeer, Isaiah Thomas, Dennis Rodman, Joe Dumars, let's just look up some of their videos here on YouTube about how they defended Jordan. Here's the difference, man. Here's the difference between the two guys, okay? And as far as defenses that they played against. When the Mavs, the Spurs, and Golden State, when they beat those teams that LeBron brought to the finals, their whole strategy against LeBron was to play off the guy. Give him room. Don't let him run to the basket. We're going to let this guy shoot his team out of the game. Because shooting is not a strength of his. I don't care what anybody says, okay? That's how they defend LeBron. That's how they beat LeBron. When you listen to guys like, again, Lambeer, Isaiah Thomas, Dennis Rodman, Joe Dumars, they said instead of giving up layups and dunks like the other teams would, because it gives their team momentum, we're going to put this guy on the foul line. We're going to rough him up. We're going to put him on the ground, okay? That's what they did. That's how they stopped Jordan. Right? He had to go against that kind of defense. Not, you know what, let's just let this guy shoot. You know, like it's a totally different game, man.
Bro. Hey, you know what's crazy? They literally put this man in the hospital at one point, and it got so bad, right? That that they had to put in the flagrant foul rule which was irrelevant in the 80s, so you could really there was a lot of fights between the 70s and 80s because of that shit.
Yeah.
Guys were squaring up and shit, man. Like Rick Mahorn and Bill Lambert, those guys were some dirty ass players. But the thing is with Jordan, but you know what? Instead of complaining and crying about it, Jordan, instead, what he did was he got up in the damn weight room and got stronger.
Yes.
Like a competitor should, instead of complaining to the refs. He didn't even complain to the refs when that shit happened because it was a common thing back then. You know? And the cold thing is, right, if we want to talk about, the 80s was physical, right? The 90s were even more physical with the 92 Knicks, which I still regard that team as, if you're talking about perimeter defensive players and perimeter defense, like with Harper, what's his name? Charles Davis, what's his name? Greg Anthony, what's his name? John Starks, John Starks, and then you had, the shot blocking ability of Patrick Ewing, the physicality of Charles Oakley. The perimeter defense, that was one of the most perimeterly tough defensive teams of all time, maybe the best. And
did you say Gerald? Did you name Gerald Wilkins? He was a part of those teams too.
He was, yeah. See, Gerald Wilkins. You know what's crazy? You know what's crazy? If you go statistic by statistic, Jordan said that Joe Dumars was the hardest defensive player he ever played against. But really, if you deal with Gerald Wilkins, the so-called Jordan stopper, he actually limited Jordan a little bit better than everyone else. All right, but Jordan still got off on him.
Yeah.
And those were some of the greatest defensive teams of all time. Perimeter from a perimeter standpoint, probably the best. And Jordan and they weren't getting no damn calls in that series all the way up to Game 7. Game 7 they started giving them those calls that they didn't get in that Game 1, 2, and 3, and 4, but they gave them in the 7th. And see, that's another thing too I want to address too. LeBron always cried about fouls when he came into the NBA, right? Jordan didn't, like, in his first couple years, was not getting those same superstar calls. All right. Even in the first three-peat, he still had to earn his. It wasn't until a little after the three-peat was done, and then the second three-peat with the whole new cast that they got was when he got those those superstar calls. LeBron got those calls from his inception all the way up to now, and he's still crying, complaining. He flops everywhere. Jordan had to fucking dunk over motherfuckers. Okay, dunk over.
And I want to talk to the GOAT here. He's bringing up some good comments here. We're saying how he thinks that players today are more athletic, that they would just run past a lot of guys. I mean, it's a different game, man. Do I agree that there's more athletes per se? More athletic guys, yeah, but I think more guys were more skilled back in those days. They were more all around, in my opinion. And that doesn't always make you better being more athletic. I mean, we had some crazy athletes in the NBA and in other major sports, but they don't turn out to be anywhere near great, right? It's not LeBron's athleticism that sets him apart. It's because he can do a lot of things on the court. But I hear what you're saying, man.
Yeah, let me say something about that. People say that because there's always been a narrative for the last 12, 13 years, I would say, since 2007, 2008, there's been a narrative that I've noticed since I coming out of high school that people kept saying, "Oh, well, the athletes today are way so much better than the guys before." But they could try to have that argument back 10, 12 years ago. But if you're talking about the last 5, 6 years in the NBA and the NFL in particular, listen, man. I don't listen. First off, one thing I know that there ain't no great athletes like that anymore in the NBA is that name me one back in the day, back in the 80s and 90s, you can name me some dunkers. Skywalker, you can name me Larry Nance. You understand? You can name me
Harold Miner. Remember him?
Harold Miner, J.R. Ryder.
They called him Baby Jordan, but he didn't turn out to be nothing but an athlete. That's it.
Exactly. Latrell Sprewell. You can name me Spud Webb, the human highlight film. Dominic Wilkins, right? Sean freaking Kemp. All right.
Oh my God, yeah.
Name me one dunker in the NBA. I can name one, and he's from Renton, Washington up here. Zach LaVine. That's it. I can't name no. You can't name me no high flying, extraordinary, jump out of the gym, jumping jack type characters. And and you know what's crazy? You know how that's I'm gonna tell you something. That's a myth because you can't name me one of those guys. Then when I turn on the tape, look at someone like Charles Barkley, right? Who's 280 pounds, 6'4", right? But has a 38-inch vertical.
Right. Yeah.
Had 38-inch vertical, could jump out the gym, look fast as hell on camera, driving to the rim and whatnot. You know, like when you're younger and you watch Barkley, you're thinking about the rebounds, the physicality, but when you get older and you watch this dude's a power forward that can handle the rock like a point guard up the court and just cross guys over and take guys to the rack like it's nothing. Like guys back in the day, man, like guys were great athletes, superb athletes back then, man. People are just saying that now because they're saying, "Oh, these guys are so great now because they're watching HD." This notion that these guys are so more athletic. Yeah, you know, I'm not going to say what I really want to say about the guys today and what they possibly are using today. I'll just leave that for another story. But I mean, these guys are not like, even with all that being said, these guys don't look anywhere near impressive. And all these guys do today is shoot. They don't go to the rack. They don't do nothing like that, man.
Yep. And look at this. I'm glad you brought up Barkley. He's listed right here. It says he's 6'6", right?
Yeah.
Now, that's the same height as Michael Jordan. Now look at this. We look at this picture. You can see, yeah, they're about the same height. Matter of fact, you could say Jordan might be a tad bit taller. I mean, maybe where they're standing, but look, they're about the same size as far as height goes. But for Barkley to put up the double doubles that he did in his career, and to play against guys who are 5 to 6 inches taller than him, I mean, he doesn't get enough respect, in my opinion, man. A lot of people say, "Oh, he never won," you know. I mean, look, it's not always the player's fault that they don't win. Like, they don't put the team together. They're not the general manager. They go out there and they do their thing. And Barkley was a fucking beast, man. He was a beast, you know.
He was. And you know, we're talking about the winning thing, right? Let me just bring up 2 points, right? Just real quick. When you deal with Charles Barkley, or when you deal with all those great players, the Suns that had 10 guys in double figures, right? And that stacked roster, that was a super team. You talk about that's a third super team he played. He played a super team with the Sonics. He played a super team with
the Suns. The Suns were a super team.
Orlando Magic was a super team. Believe it or not. You know, like, I mean, look, when you look at LeBron, when you look at Michael Jordan, the Suns could have been the champions, but Charles Barkley could have had a ring, but Patrick Ewing could have had a ring, but
Karl Malone,
Karl Malone and John Stockton could have had a ring, but Gary Payton and Sean Kemp could have had a ring, but there's so many guys back then that couldn't win shit. The only one guy that could do was Hakeem Olajuwon after Jordan left.
Mm-hmm.
LeBron, and when he started winning, guys were still winning against him. Kawhi Leonard shut him down in the finals. Jordan was never shut down in the finals completely.
Yes. I mean, do we have to go to 2011 where the guy scored 8 points in one game, one finals game? I mean, and again, I'm not even going to get into some of these things because I'm going to save it for another argument for another time when somebody else is on the panel with us that's arguing LeBron's case. But I mean, that's something that can't be ignored. Okay, the guy scored 8 points in an NBA Finals game. I mean, Jason Terry outscored him that series. Averaged more points than LeBron. That should not happen to a guy who is considered the greatest of all time. You know, like I mean, I'm sorry. Again, if you look at Michael Jordan's finals stats, it's unbelievable, man. I mean, if you go back to the first time he played in the finals in 91 against the Lakers, he averaged 11 assists that series, bro. That's the most for a non-point guard in the NBA finals. And also someone not named Magic Johnson. Okay. Again, the 41-point average he put up against the Suns. He took it to another level on that stage. Took it to another level every time. And we can't say the same for LeBron. I mean, I'm sorry, we just can't, you know? And you know what? I think LeBron's a great player too, man. He's a top 10 player, no doubt about it. I just can't agree with anybody that says that he's the greatest of all time. I'm sorry, man. He falls short, man. He just does, you know?
And you know what? And you know what's crazy? Jordan never lost in the finals, and he never went to Game 7. LeBron has lost and went to Game 7 more than one time.
Been swept more than one time. I mean,
yeah. There you go.
So, I mean, look, man, this has been fun. I wanted, like I said, do a little off topic here, break up the monotony a little bit of the boxing. And again, boxing is slow. We got Kell Brook versus Amir Khan coming up Saturday. That's 10 plus years in the making. This should have happened a long time ago, but that's boxing for you, man. Let's see. Puro Sur says, Kobe is my GOAT, but I agree. Tons of respect to LeBron and MJ. Look, there was a while where people were making arguments for Kobe. I remember guys like Greg Anthony on ESPN. Even Mark Jackson was saying, I think I think Kobe's better, you know?
T-Funk, you know what's crazy about that? I remember back in the day on the Bliss Sports podcast a long time ago. Right? Mitch Richmond came on, right?
That's my guy right there.
Yeah, man. He was, he said a lot of things, right? We all got to ask him a question. You know what's crazy? When I asked him who was the best player that ever guarded him, he said MJ initially, the first guy. And when he talked about Kobe and versus Michael, he said Kobe emulates a lot of MJ, and he said he played against both guys, right? Mm-hmm. He said, look, Kobe was a great player, take nothing away from him, but he was nothing like Mike. Nothing like Mike. And Mitch Richmond is a top 10 shooting guard of all time.
And I remember MJ was quoted in the 90s in the second three-peat run when because the Bulls only came here to Sacramento once a year. You know, they were an Eastern Conference team or a Western Conference team. So when he came here, it was a big, big deal, man. And they asked him, you know, who's your toughest guy to guard? And he said Mitch Richmond was the toughest guy for him to guard. This is Michael Jordan saying that, you know, and Mitch was solid, man. That's why we called him the Rock. Dude was tough. He was strong. He could hang in the strength department. He could shoot with Jordan. He could do everything. He just didn't have, you know, the system that Jordan. Yeah. Our teams were not good, man, but we did make the playoffs in 96. We got one win against the Sonics down there in game 2. Boy, let me tell you, Brian, we were so pumped up here, bro. We thought we was going to win that thing, and you guys beat us twice here at Arco Arena. That was insane, man.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, but hey, the Western Conference was stacked as hell back then, man.
Absolutely, man. Yep. Good times, man. Man, I was so pumped up because we went up there game 1 and got blown the hell out. Like, it looked like we didn't even belong in the playoffs, and then out of nowhere, you know, Mitch has himself a game. Sarunas Marciulionis off the bench puts up good numbers. And we win game 2, and I'm like, hell yeah, man. I'm excited. Like, the whole city was was pumped, bro. And then, that was a letdown. That was a major letdown. I mean, Kemp and Peyton, man, in my opinion, that's the best alley-oop combo I've ever seen, man. Those guys had such a chemistry, man. Peyton would just throw that ball up, Kemp would go get it and throw that shit down every time, man. It was a thing of art, man.
Man, yeah, bro. It was, man. You know, and it's just crazy how what the potential would have been had Kemp just stayed on course, man. He should have stayed in the right neighborhood up here and not did what he did, you know, getting, you know, just, you know, letting himself go and whatnot to do, you know. But he's doing all right now. Every time I catch the bus out there to the boxing gym, I always see his little shop that he has nowadays. He has a little weed shop up here.
Oh, that's right. I heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's called Sean Kim's Hemp or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he has, and you know what's crazy? He has a little picture of him. You know that dunk he did in the dunk contest. He had this little picture. He has the exact picture of him doing that as a little logo on that shit. And I was like, man, you know, man, those were fun times, man. In the 90s, I'm gonna tell you something. The 90s basketball, bro. That was such a majestic atmosphere. It was a glorious atmosphere, bro. That you could not beat the NBA on NBC. I don't care what anybody says.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Like,
that music still gets me pumped up, bro. I remember we were playing rec league ball, and I would be listening to that song. There was in the first generation iPods that came out. You know, I'd be listening to that tune, trying to get pumped up. You know, like that NBC music was just, I mean, it just hit you, man. It got you pumped up. You know what I'm saying? Let's see here. The GOAT says, yeah, LeBron lost to the Mavs, but Dirk was playing lights out all throughout the playoffs. I remember I'm from Dallas. That team was hella underrated. I mean, they, you know, you're right. They definitely weren't favorite to win the championship or even, you know, get there. You know, they were under the radar that year. Let's see, Eldon Campbell. I remember Eldon Campbell played for the Lakers and really good big man too for his time, you know.
Yeah, he was.
Really nice player there, man. But yeah, man, this was fun. And like I said, I got a lot more stuff in the clip when it comes to Jordan over LeBron. This was just again, we put the conversation out there. We want to debunk some of these narratives out there that these guys like, oh, Nick, right? Well, if the aliens came down from Mars to play here, who would you pick? You'd pick LeBron, you know? Like, shut the fuck up, all right? Like, that guy says some of the dumbest things ever, man. Like, I don't even know how that guy's on TV, to be honest with you, bro.
Who is it? Were you talking about Nick Wright?
Yeah.
That is the biggest fan, man. You know what? Never mind.
But you know what? I want to give a shout out to the Bruce Blitz Network, man. Back in the day, I remember you was a part of that, bro. I used to listen to that podcast all the time, man. That was really good stuff you guys did back then, man.
Oh man, those were, I ain't gonna lie, those were some fun times, especially when you because you knew that there were people out there, they would watch it just because of just to push the narrative, right? Then you just have to stand boldly about what you know is a fact, and these guys just they see the facts and they still want to pull out the bullshit. They'll be confounded and still want to keep going on and keep going back and forth. I'm like, man.
Poodle Sorter says, yeah, those were great times, man. I used to really enjoy listening to those shows back in the day. He says that was a joke, I guess, like about Eldon Campbell. Look, I honestly thought Eldon Campbell was a good player, man. I really think he was. No cap. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. He says, I hate when I hear cap from either LeBron or the MJ fanboys. I mean, you know, it's one of those things, man. I mean, I know that there's a lot of young guys that are passionate about LeBron. But the truth is this, man. I've watched LeBron's whole career. LeBron and I are the same age. I'm older than him by about 6 months. No, wait a minute. 8 months. So I'm a little bit older than him. We're the same age. Look, man, LeBron played his first NBA game here in Sacramento against my Kings in 2003. I was there when they shot the commercial, the Nike commercial for LeBron, for his first NBA game, they made it. They did like a little simulation of him playing against the Kings here at Arco Arena. I was in that commercial, bro. I got paid by Nike for that commercial. That was a fun day. I was there all fucking day, but it was fun. You know, it was a fun experience. I got a chance to shoot around with some of the guys, the actors that were in that commercial. One of them was actually a son of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He was out there, an actor as an NBA player that during that commercial. So that was fun, you know. So like, I got a lot of love for LeBron. I defended LeBron when a lot of the Kobe Bryant guys were attacking him towards the end of Kobe's career. So I mean, you know, look, it's nothing against LeBron. I just don't think he's better than Jordan. I just don't see it.
Yeah.
You know. So now I hear what you're saying though, man. It gets ugly sometimes. Sometimes guys they say things that don't make sense, like Nick Wright, and they pump up these type of dudes, you know. And that's not what I'm all about, man. But we'll definitely dive into this again soon because I love talking basketball, man. Basketball is again a sport that I loved. I played all through my young years, and but boxing. This channel is about boxing, and it was built to help boxing. That's what I'm going to continue to do. But sometimes we got to break up the monotony. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, boxing's kind of slow right now. Working on trying to get some interviews, man. Some trainers on that are training some fighters for some big fights coming up. So I got some things planned, but you know, if I got some time, we'll try to bring this up again, and I'll try to bring some guys on the panel who are pro LeBron so we can have the conversation. I'm going to end the poll. We had 20 votes, Brian. 85% say Michael Jordan, 15% say LeBron. Maybe next time we could get, like I said, some more guys to watch and some more guys to come on and chop it up with this, man. But I want to thank you for your time, man. I appreciate you coming on. Go ahead and give some closing thoughts, man.
Yeah, man. You know, I just, the narratives, people have them. People have the preferential player that they like, and that's cool. Ain't no problem liking LeBron James, man. You know, at one point I was a fan of him in his earlier years, but we got to put things in their proper perspective. He's nowhere near on the level. He's not. He's like a one or two step below Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan proved that he was great, and when it came down into the greatest of moments, in some of the greatest moments in the history of the NBA and the sport of basketball, Michael Jordan was there, and he overcome through all adversity, man. And if he wasn't at that time, in particular from my standpoint, from his ladder, his the end of his first three-peat going into his second three-peat. No, he was the most feared player on the planet, and he was cemented his legacy as the greatest of all time. And I don't think anyone's ever going to touch that.
Well, I'm right there with you, man. Jordan's prime, to me, his prime years were, golly, that's hard to determine because he had a lot of good years, man. But I want to say maybe like 87 to 93 before he retired the first time. That run was just ridiculous, man. I mean, check this out. From those years, he averaged 37.1, 35.0, 32.5, 33.6, 31.5, 30.1, 30.6 points per game. Three of those last 3 years were championship years, and all of those seasons that I just read off, he led the league in scoring. Every single one of those years. Then he comes back in the three-peat, leads the league in scoring for another 3 seasons, 30.4, 29.6, 28.7. I mean, unbelievable, man. And I appreciate you guys, man, for, hanging in there with us. Yeah, man, like I said, for sure, next time we'll get some other guys on. And he says, I'm 25, so I didn't see MJ. No, I mean, I understand, man. I understand. There's a lot of footage out there, brother. Take some time. I don't know, if COVID's got your job at home or whatever. But I mean, if you are at home, take a couple hours at night, relax, throw on a Jordan game from back in the day, you know, and you'll see what I'm talking about, man. The guy was unbelievable. I watched him, like I said, I remember all the championship years that he played, and the guy was just unbelievable, man, unbelievable. Not only that, I mean, the popularity that this guy had at the time, Brian. I mean, you know, I mean, the dude's
Yeah.
his shoes still sell more than anybody in the NBA. Like he's
Oh, yeah.
It's unbelievable, man. Like that, but it was more back in the 90s because he was playing and winning. It was even more then than it is now, you know?
You know what's crazy? Like, you could be a fan of a team, right? But you pay if you was to go to a game, if you was to watch a game, you wanted to see Michael, man. He was something special, man. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, yeah, okay, Kobe, like the generation that came after that, those players were special. You know, they were fun to watch. Even LeBron at a certain point was fun to watch, but they didn't have there was something that Jordan had that them other guys just didn't have, man. And he was a whole nother different level of special. And not only his dominance on this court, his charisma off the court. I mean, the dude never stuttered in an interview. The dude's very knowledgeable, very intelligent, high IQ. And he was also a guy like, I mean, his shoes. He another thing too. The reason why a lot of these guys get shoe deals and endorsement deals was because of MJ. Yeah, you had
Mm-hmm.
Magic and Larry that had the Converse, but he had his own brand. He created the Jordan brand, which seeped into aspects in the world of football, boxing, other sports, tennis. That he even had like he was a game changer for sports. Period.
Oh yes.
And
That's a great point you made, man, about the shoes because Converse has been involved. Converse and Adidas were the two top dogs in the NBA for a long time. If you look through the 60s and the 70s and the early 80s, guys were either wearing Adidas or Converse. And like you said, Bird and Magic had their own versions of those shoes that they wore. And then Jordan comes out of nowhere and signs with the underdog, which was Nike at the time. Nike was not big at the time. But he took that shit to a whole nother level, man. And those shoes, I mean, let me tell you, man, if you thought people were crazy about those shoes now, it was much crazier back then, man. It was just insane, you know? But yeah, man, it's getting late over here on the West Coast, 10 p.m. If wherever you guys are joining us, man, we appreciate you. I got to get myself some sleep, man. I got my kids and everything to take care of and all that good stuff in the morning. But again, Brian, I want to thank you, man. It's always like it's cool to talk to you, man. Because like I said, I've been listening to you a long time back in those Bruce Blitz podcasts, man.
oh yeah,
So to talk sports with you, man, it's fun, bro. It's always fun.
oh
And,
yeah, likewise, man. And when you was around at the time, I remember your channel G Funky Boxing, you know, from back in the day. So it's yeah, man. You know, and those days, man. And it's crazy because those days were like nostalgic days because you were reminiscing from the times of the past. And now I'm thinking of the time, like having this conversation, I'm thinking of those times of the Blitz Sports podcast with Bruce Blitz and the gang and how fun that was, just reminiscing of the time, like the time period before that. You know, it's just time flies, man. And it's crazy.
Absolutely, man. It sure does. But this has been great, man. And again, if I could free up some time away from the boxing stuff, I got some, like I said, I'm working on some interviews. I got some breakdowns that I'm working on as well because we got some good fights coming up. I mean, we got March 19th. We got Undisputed again with Charlo Castaño. We got a fight that I'm very interested in. Earl Spence versus Denis Ulgas. Great fight. And also Oscar Valdez versus Shakur Stevenson. Guys, these are tremendous matchups, man, that we got. And those are the three fights that I'm really excited about. And I'm definitely going to be breaking those down. And I'm trying to get some trainers on that are connected to these guys, man. I'm working on it. All right. So hopefully I can get a hold of them and, I can get them on 20, 30 minutes. We could talk a little bit about the fights and stuff like that. So, canceled. What's canceled, bro? What are you doing? Don't do that. Don't do that to me, man. All right. Castaño's out. Oh no way.
Oh shit. Yo, yeah, he is. Torn,
Is he?
torn bicep. I just saw let's see, ESPN. Yep.
Ay, Dios mío.
Isaac Cruz and Garrett Gamboa about to fight. That better be. Oh no, man. I hope, man, with all these rumors going around, I hope that's a rumor.
Yeah, for sure.
Rumor
See,
has it.
you see, guys, this is why I decided to talk some basketball tonight, man, because boxing will just disappoint you, man. Damn it. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and get out of here, man. Thank you guys for watching. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell. And, you know, if you're listening to this archive, comment, leave some comments down below. I would love to, you know, talk with you guys about what we had to say tonight. So for the Boxing Historian 206, this is G Funky Boxing. Never forget, MJ the GOAT.
Right.
We're out of here.